I started the company literally in 2000. I approached specific partners, strategic partners, which are specialists in their fields.
If you're be sensitive, if you have made a considered effort for skills development, you are not allowed to, as an employer, to terminate someone's employment because of employment equity requirements. You are not allowed to disregard certain people's qualifications and experience because they're not the right target designated group. It's a very big part of your workforce statutory compliance, and like I said, you could be penalised. The minimum is 1.5 million. Oh, wow. It just gets more, so it just goes up. So yeah, that's a nasty penalty to hit the bottom line.
I can imagine.
Companies with a workforce of 50 or more employees, they have to register as designated employers. And then if you have less employees, below 50, but your turnover exceeds the threshold set in the Employment Equity Act, then you also have to register and comply with Chapter 3 of the Act. Okay. In the agri sector, the threshold's very low. It's only 6 million. Construction is a bit more, 15 million. And then in wholesale and retail, it's quite a bit more, 75 million.
Wow.
It's very onerous, very specific. So if the inspector from the department knocks on your door, they would want to see, first of all, that there's a senior person appointed as the employment equity manager, formally setting out the roles and responsibilities of the position, that you have a representative employment equity committee. That means all the different gender and race groups are represented, as well as the different occupational levels that you have in the company. This employment equity committee will meet at least every quarter. Formal agenda, minutes, very specific items that they address. Okay. Sometimes the companies also use the E-committee as the training committee. Okay. Because it links, it assists the management with the analysis. So the Section 19 analysis is also a requirement that gets documented in a specific form, the EA12. And so they, based on the categories that the department prescribes, the barriers gets identified. It could be policies, practices, it could be the accommodation of the company. And it's then the task of management to develop affirmative action measures that address these barriers. And a lot of the time, training is a very valuable tool for management to use as a measure. Now we get to the more onerous ones, or the punitive sections, which is your Section 20, your EE plan must be designed and implemented based on that analysis. So in your analysis, you'd look at your workforce and see which groups are underrepresented in the different occupational levels. And in your plan, you then set targets and goals for these groups to be, the underrepresentation to be corrected. And you indicate what strategies are you going to follow, recruit or promote after you've done the training, etc. So if you don't have a EE plan, again in a specific format, the EA13 format, then it is 1% of turnover.
That can be quite a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a lot, but that's for the first strike. Second strike, if you haven't done it correctly again, could be 2% of turnover.
So it's just going to keep increasing.
Increasing, yeah. Your EE reports that gets done around about this time of the year, you need to have your EA2 and EA4 reports submitted. And if you haven't done that and you are supposed to, then again, 1%, 2% of turnover. Okay. So that's very important to get it right, to know when you have to comply, you have to register, and to get it right. It's important to know that although there's an Amendment Act in the wings, the current or the old Employment Equity Act still stands, and everyone that's designated employer in terms of that act has to report for the 2024 reporting season.
The department wants to simplify it because, like I said, it's quite an onerous act. So they say 50 and more employees, then you need to comply with all the Chapter 3 requirements. All companies has to comply with Chapter 2, which is all about policies and practices, etc. Okay, so the 50-plus workforce companies then has to do, the manager, the committee, the plans, the analysis, the reporting, that kind of thing. And because of the fact that over the past few years, the department hasn't seen enough changes of underrepresented groups filtering into companies' management structures, they have now brought in sector targets for top senior professional, which is your mid-management, and your junior management, which is your skilled level, that they want to see certain underrepresented groups and genders to be promoted and appointed in those positions. Currently, your Employment Equity Act, the employer can decide 1 year works for me,
2 years work, anything 1 to 5 years. You can have your own the period you decide on. The Amendment Act says you've got 5 years, and your EE goal, your final year, the goal profile must be the same as your sector profile or more. And then you look at the economically active population either nationally or provincially. And there's also prescription around that. When you can go for national, when can you go for provincial.